Okay, so here's a PowerPoint on teaching remotely and dealing with common behaviors at home. Um, I wanted to share with you some experiences I've had, as well as like recently with the coronavirus stuff, and then also just generally in home, some behavior stuff that might help. I do want to say, whatever you see in this video, please use your best judgment. Don't hold me liable for anything I am discussing with you. It's just meant to give you some ideas, but definitely, consult a board certified behavior analyst or your teacher's. Your teacher of your child, if you're going to implement something. Again, it's just meant to give you some examples, but it doesn't mean that you have to implement it or that you should, unless you have some prior training. Hi, everyone. This is new for me. I am used to giving my presentations with a group of people behind me or in front of me, actually. So please bear with me. This is a first for me. So I wanted to be able to help and support from the walls of my home. I feel like there's a lot going on out there, and every day I'm learning more and more. So I made this PowerPoint teaching through COVID-19, just to talk about some of the things that we're running into and some of the difficulties, in getting through those a little bit. So who am I? I'm a mother of three. I have a little baby, a 5-month-old, and then two almost 7-year-olds. I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I'm a member of the behavior team. I'm a credentialed teacher, and I'm a San Diego State professor. And I do have some experience with remote learning. I used to do video conferencing with a team in the Philippines, and it was a little bit different though, because I had a team of people that we hired and trained, particularly to work with our students. So now that's going to be the parents, and so we need to be thoughtful on how we're going to proceed. So I wrote a PowerPoint and then I changed it. I wrote a PowerPoint making suggestions to parents, and then I went through the last few weeks of this and I have completely changed my perspective. Um, I think it's important that as a board certified behavior analyst, I'm able to go through a little bit of what the parents are going through to understand more about what type of advice I'd like to give. So I've been trying to get on the FaceTime or Zoom with as many clients as I can. I've been trying to teach my own children while working, and it's a lot different than my original PowerPoint. So I wrote a PowerPoint, it was great, but then I changed it because it really wouldn't have much effect on what's actually going on. So I wanted to start off with some funny things that are popping up on the internet. I think one of the joys of this, very few joys of this, is being able to see what other people are experiencing, and then and being able to laugh at it. So one dad wrote, "As I sit in isolation for hours, planning to keep a safe distance from my family, I hear them outside the door shouting words of encouragement, like my kids saying, 'Make us breakfast,' and my wife adding, 'Get out of the bathroom, you aren't sick.'" So parents just trying to, get away and have some time for themselves. Also, here's another one. My son is chasing his sister around the house with a piece of lizard poop. How is your quarantine going? I'm actually sure this is a true story. Good news, just had an email from both schools saying that the websites they are asking us to use to homeschool our children have crashed due to volume of traffic. There is a God. And I relate to this because even being a parent of two typical first graders, I'm getting an overwhelming amount of information. And a lot of it is like to do with technology and signing on to different websites and things I have to print. And it's really a lot to juggle while I'm also trying to work and take care of a baby. So it's a lot. And I can't imagine what some of the families are going through with kids with some more severe disabilities and how that looks, or mobility issues. So this I can relate to a lot. I told the kids we were starting homeschool at 9, and they are all hiding from me in their rooms with the doors locked. So is this winning? It feels like winning. And again, going back to, as parents, we have a lot of pressure to, to educate our children now, and it feels like a lot. And so when these things happen, it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to get a minute to breathe. I don't have to be teaching right now. Video call with my boss while working from home. Boss. I need you to, and then 4 kids run by, one on fire, one naked, two in ski masks and capes. Boss, never mind. I mean, this is like real stuff. I mean, one on fire. I'm sure that's not that's not true, but this is real stuff. Where we're trying to work from home and we're trying to also educate our children, and it can be really difficult. Okay, so the overview and purpose. You have enough on your plate. You don't need to be listening to long PowerPoints on behavior. Here are our key points to making it easier on you and your kids through this time with the least possible friction. These ideas aren't meant to add to your plate. They're meant to make life easier on you and your children. And again, looking at, we don't really know how long this is going to last. So, our choices today will really impact, how this is going to go. It's going to set a mood for how it's going to go for the next couple months. Okay, so there's nothing you have to do, right? The most important thing is that you're keeping your sanity, you're enjoying the time that you do have with your kids. You teach them as much as you can if possible. You give yourself a break, and it's really okay not to be okay. I mean, we're going to have moments where this is really difficult, and it's okay. There's a lot of changes in teaching, so now it's going to be through online platforms, which they call it distance learning. Teachers cannot follow through with demand or even monitor all behaviors during teaching. The reinforcement is harder to find. Focus is different when we're not part of a group, because some students are motivated by being part of that group. And there's different distractions and interactions. I mean, the students are in their home with a bunch of toys and TV and iPad, which again is very different from a school where they don't have access to those. And kids are used to kids are used to using computer, iPad for reinforcement, and it's hard to associate it with work. A lot of us parents give iPad time or computer time to our kids when they're doing something really well, and it serves as a reinforcement. And now we're asking them to do this difficult work or this work on the same thing that they were using for reinforcement. So also keeping that in mind. Okay, so the 2 biggest hurdles that I'm figuring out this week, last week, through teaching online is there's not enough motivation. Again, you're not in a school environment where you can control motivation. You're in a home where it's a lot harder, and then also we're not able to follow through. So I can give a lot of demands to my students through this little camera, but really I'm not able to go and follow through with it. So that makes it really difficult to teach anything if I'm a teacher. So 2 ways to get them to do it when it's not inherently motivating. So if the task isn't inherently motivating, I know the girls were really motivated by building a science project. I mean, they were really motivated by that, but they might not be motivated by writing a paragraph about it. So if the task isn't inherently motivating, there's only 2 things I see in order to get them to do it. Offering lots of reinforcement, and that's what we call positive reinforcement. Or this is the other way I get my kids to do something, and also students when I'm at school and I can't touch them or move them, annoying them, and then leaving them alone for a while after they do something you want them to do. And we call that negative reinforcement, because basically, if they do what I want them to do, then I'm going to remove an annoying stimuli, or I'm going to remove an annoying thing that bothers them. So, hey, just do what I want you to do, and I'll go away for a while, and you can do whatever you want and have that time. Okay, so what we know about reinforcement and how to use it to best motivate work or desirable behavior. So if possible and safe, withhold really desirable items for less desirable academic activities or time spent with teachers. So I know it's really difficult when your kids are running around the house and you just need a couple minutes apiece. It's easy to give them what they want so they can do what you want them to do. But it'd be really great if you could withhold those items or those activities until they do academic work with the teacher, and then reinforce them with that. Then they start to associate getting all the cool things that they want by doing academic work. If possible, have reinforcement visible but not available until the student follows through. Again, the students are even more motivated when the reinforcement is in sight. So if it can be in sight without distracting them, that is also great. If possible, try to create a relationship with the teacher and reinforcement. The student gets it when the teacher says so that the teacher becomes more valuable and interesting, and the way your child gets his or her most favorite thing. And again, just, letting the teacher say, hey, you did really great today. You can get your iPad, or hey, you did really great today. You earned your ring pop. That way, the teacher is associated with the reinforcement, not just you. And then also, if possible, designate technology for online learning and technology for reinforcement so that the student doesn't try to go to more desirable things on technology. Meaning that, if your iPad is designated for academic time and for learning, or for reinforcement, the student might, during the Zoom meeting or during the academic time, they might try to bypass it and go to YouTube, or get distracted by that. So if you can have, like, maybe the computer is where the student is learning, and then the iPad is where they're reinforced by YouTube or so on, it's better to keep it separate if that's a possibility. If not, then we work with it, no matter what. So here's an example of a token chart we use in our house. At the beginning of each day, our girls pick something they want to work for. It could be like a bigger item, like ice cream after dinner, or it could be like shorter bursts, like I want to earn 5 minutes of iPad. If it's the bigger item, they take a lot longer to move up. If it's a smaller item, then they can move up quite fast, but we control it. Again, we want to focus on moving them up more than moving them down, and ask them what they want every so often so they're motivated. I also just wanted to show our schedule we're using, just because when you make a schedule, if that's at all possible, it's easier to stick to it and to use reinforcement because you finished a subject or they've done something you wanted them to do. It also makes it great for being able to predict what comes next. So if your child is able to read or follow a schedule, whether that's written words or pictures, I highly recommend using a schedule. Again, therefore, it's a great time that after each subject, you go ahead and move them up or reinforce them. It makes it a smooth transition. Okay, so the other way that I found to get a student to do something you want them to do is to be annoying until they do what you ask them to do. This sort of came up for me because working in a school district, I'm not physically able to really move children. So if a student is not listening to me, and it happens again and again and again, they're only reinforced by not listening to me. They know, I'm not going to listen to her, and there's nothing she can do about it. So the way that I've kind of bypassed that in the school district, and sometimes with my own children, is being annoying until they do what I ask them to do. And just like our kids know how to push our buttons, we know how to push theirs. And it may be very difficult to find reinforcement, and nothing you are trying to motivate them with is working. That's when we would go to this more annoying technique. Even though it's harder to do than just offering reinforcement, it does work. Here are some classic annoying scenes for you.
Second verse, same as first. I am. I got married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before, and everyone was enraged. And Willie Arthur, no son, in the 8th, oh man, I've been enraged. Henry the 8th, I am. Henry the 8th, I am. Second verse, same as the first. Henry the 8th, I am. Henry the 8th, I am. I got married to the widow next door.
All right. Stop singing. I'll go anywhere you want to. Just don't sing anymore. Another one. Mine. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow.
You know what? That's it.
Okay, so finding something annoying, this works sometimes. Give a direction. Like, do you want to stay there, or do you want to come do a little bit of academic work with your teacher, and then you can earn an iPad? And then if they do what you want them to do, great, reinforce and praise them. But if they stay there and they don't answer, say, wow, thanks for answering. When you don't say anything, it tells me you want to just stay there or just want to keep doing that. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you want to get up and do some work with your teacher, or do you want to just stay there? All right, looks like you don't want to answer. That means that you want to stay there. Thank you for answering. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you want to just stay there, or do you want to go do some work with your teacher on an iPad? Oh, looks like you want to just stay there. Thank you for answering. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you repeat it. I'm sure that even in that little moment that I was doing that, you guys were annoyed. Again, it's meant to be annoying. And if you as a parent are just annoying them, they're going to at some point just give in and say, okay, fine, I'll do it. Will you leave me alone? And not only will you leave them alone and let them have peace, but they'll also get their reinforcement. So they'll quickly learn, if you approach it like this every single time, that, oh my God, my parent's going to annoy me until I do it. I might as well just do it. And this works for like almost any level student, whether it's like a very high functioning student or a very low functioning student. They tend to get the message after a few of these repetitions. Some kids will even call my team, oh, you're the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 girl. And they like associate us with that. It really does work. And again, you're removing your annoyingness when they do what you want them to do. So here is my, this is my piece on, normal life stuff for behavior. I know that it's not normal right now. Time's not normal. Yesterday when I was doing a Zoom meeting with one of my students, mom did say, hey, if you sit down and you sit quietly, I will reinforce you with this ring pop. And she was very clever about it. She picked a seat in which she could sit behind it so that he couldn't jump up. She was very thoughtful about where we were going to have this. So I would say making sure that you are teaching your student in an area where they're not going to be very distracted, where you have a little bit more control, was very smart of that parent to do. And again, when I got on, he wanted to end. He said, I don't want to see Jenna. Of course, over the internet, because, in person, I'm able to follow through with things, but over the internet, I'm not able to follow through with things. So I threw it out there, but I said, hey, if you want to get off with me, then just sit down with me nicely for 10 minutes and we'll do some work. But if you don't, then mom's going to make you talk to me for an hour. And again, I don't want to make empty threats, but that seemed to work for him. He was like, yes, 10 minutes. And he stayed the whole 10 minutes with me. So really knowing your student is what's going to work for this, or really knowing your child as the parent. So now I'm going to go over like normal life stuff. And these are some strategies that might work that are common for behaviors in kids. And again, these are things I've used over and over again. I wouldn't share them with you if I didn't feel like they would work. So bear with me and hope that some of these support you. Okay, so what we want to do in life, we want to stop a behavior right away. If we are in the house or we are, in public or wherever we are, as parents or teachers, any adult, it feels really bad for us when our kids are crying. It's not even something that we can't feel. We actually feel it inside when our kids are crying. It's a response that, God or natural life has provided us. So what we want to do in life is stop a behavior right away, and that's only natural. But what we can accomplish, what we can do to accomplish what we actually want. So it's not that I want to stop a behavior if that's going to make my child suffer more in the future, right? What I actually want to do when I step away from the situation is I want my child to learn that they can get what they want through communication, or they can get what they want through doing things that might help them better in their future. So think of long-term success when each behavior happens, and how what we do in this moment will change the trajectory of our child's behavior, and either strengthen it, which we call reinforce it, or make it happen less, which is punish it. So in every moment, we feel that, oh, my kid's crying, that feels so bad, I just want to stop it. But let's take a moment and breathe and just say, like, okay, right now, what can I do to make my child cry less in the future? One moment is one moment, but there will be many more moments that a situation like this presents itself, and you have power in this. Okay, so look at long-term success, not short-term. As a behavior analyst, something that we experience a lot with parents and teachers, I guess all staff, is that they don't want to go through what we call the extinction burst. So you have this baseline where a student, is screaming, and it lasts anywhere from 6 to 7 minutes every time that we're recording data. When we put an intervention in place, we're naturally going to have an extinction burst, which means to me most of the time that this is going to work, because basically that child is pulling out every single behavior to see if it still works, because it's not working. So you're going to go from baseline to an extinction burst, and after you go through with this extinction burst, typically if you do it correctly and you're all in, you'll see that there'll be very, very low rates of that same behavior down here. But it's very difficult for parents to get through this part, because it feels bad. It doesn't feel good when kids are crying or having tantrums. So here's a personal example. We like to go scooting on the boardwalk. Of course, that's not something we do right now because of everything going on, but this is an example from before. So we like to go scooting on the boardwalk. And last time we went, we took our scooters, and Lila and Ellie, who are my 6-year-old twins, stopped halfway, and we had to carry them. This time we make an agreement that if they take their scooter, they have to go the whole way. Ellie chooses to sit in the stroller, no scooter, and Lila chooses to bring her scooter. She stops 3/4 of the way and starts screaming at me and crying to take the scooter. People are staring at me, and I'm embarrassed. It feels bad. Do I? Number one, get the scooter and stop her crying, which would be so much better in that moment. I would stop her crying immediately if I just took the scooter and I carried it for her. Or number two, do I follow through and make her ride or carry the scooter herself? So what will happen next time with number one? My girls will remember that no doesn't really mean no. My girls will remember that crying does the trick, and my girls will remember that they control me. The total behaviors from this option is unknown, but scientifically, this is going to increase the amount of crying and whining in the future. So what will happen next time with number two? My girls will remember that no means no. My girls will remember that crying won't get them what they want, and my girls will know I mean what I say. And this takes a total of 6 minutes. And why is because I have the video here.
Lila, what is happening? Hey, look, you make it. Hey, you need to make it to there, and then you can be done. Look at, Lila, you need to make it to there, and then you're done. So you can walk the scooter or ride the scooter, but that's your choices. You need to make it to there, like we said, and then you can stop. But you need to make it to the end. I hear you, and you need to make it to the end, like we agreed. Move over here, Lila. And I need to see that you're calm if you want to get back in the stroller. I need to see that you're ready and calm. Pick up the scooter and put it over there nicely. And when you stop crying, you can get back in the stroller. When you stop crying, you can get back in the stroller. But you need to stop crying first. Ellie, you're doing a nice job. When you're calm, you can get back in, and that will just wait here. Or you can even scooter back. Show me that you're calm. Let me look at you. Okay, take off your helmet. If you need help, you can ask. Yes. All right. Bring your scooter over and give it to Sissy.
So if you're going to give in early, and parents tend to remember this. If you're going to give in early. Sometimes a situation comes up and you know you can't or won't follow through with it if your child doesn't listen. This is common. Public opinion, being tired, having millions of things to do all get in the way of us following through with an expectation we set. But if it doesn't go your way, give in early. So it's better to give in early than have this huge long behavior and then give in, because then the child's going to know, hey, if I only carry out this behavior for 20, 30, 40 minutes, then mom's finally going to give in. So again, if you're going to give in early. I understand it. Sometimes you can't always follow through, and sometimes you don't have the power or strength to. So just give in if you're going to give in early. Just give in early if you're going to give in. Try getting a quick compliance. So your child might not want to follow through with an expectation you set, or may not want to give up what they are already doing. If you can't follow through with the whole behavior, give a quick compliance and then give them what they want. So when I came into a classroom, a student was having a really hard time giving up an iPad, and he had thrown a big tantrum and destroyed part of the classroom. So here I am working with him right after that, just teaching him how to basically put the iPad down, do a little bit, and then pick it back up. This is a good example of getting compliance. Again, whether that's like, hey, turn off the TV, and then you can turn it back on, or hey, turn the TV off, and then pick up your socks, and then you can turn it back on. That could be used at home as well.
Back. Buzzer's going to go off, and as long as you put it right here, you can have it back. Okay, put it right here. Here, so you can have it back. Okay, go. 5, 4. You need to place it here. 3, 2. Put it. Good. Okay, you can have it back. You get 1 minute. Off in 10 seconds. If you place it on the whiteboard, you can pick it up again. Okay, are you ready? Okay, when you hear it, you need to put it here, and then you can pick it back up. Okay. Wow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pick it back up. Good job, buddy. Yeah. Okay, you can take it. Okay, buddy, it's going to go off. When it goes off, you can put it here, and then you can pick it back up. Oh, already? Wait, put it down. The bell's going to ring. Ready? Ready? 5, 4, wait, 3, 2, 1. Pick it back up. Good job. Okay, match them, and then you can pick it back up. Look, match them quickly. And then you can get the iPad again. Good job putting it back. You can get the iPad, pick it back up. Good job, buddy. Right, guys, remember, when you hear the bell, put the iPad down and do the activity, and you can pick it back up. Perfect. Okay, look. Good job, buddy.
I don't know. Timer for 1 minute, then you're going to give it back to me. Over here. And I've got
And then put the whiteboard out so you can see it.
the whiteboard right here.
So here's an example of a quick compliance. Your child, you want your child to write a whole sentence, but they are only on the first word. They start complaining that they don't want to do it, and you are in the middle of cooking dinner and also feeding your 7-month-old baby. So here we go. This is something I might do if I know in that moment I can't follow through with it. Okay, you don't have to write the full sentence right now, but just write one more word and then you can be done. Or I see that you really don't want to write right now. Can you stand up, push your chair in, grab me the book, and then you can be done for now. Or, okay, just do this, tap table, and then you can be done right now. And again, I'm trying to vary it for all different levels of students, but the idea here is that you're not just saying fine when the kid says they don't want to do it. You're getting them to do something compliant. You're getting them to follow through with something that you're asking them to do, and then you're rewarding that by removing the demand. Again, this is a great way for parents to, in that moment, they don't have to follow through, but they still get some compliance. Okay, so one time when I came into a classroom, there was a new student who wasn't wanting to do the assignments. She was new to the class, and nobody really knew what motivation she had, but she did love drawing. So she wanted to draw, so the staff was trying to get her to put down the drawing to do the writing. But instead, she went around the classroom and, ran around, and the staff were trying to catch her. So instead, I let her have her drawing, but I just got some quick compliances like, hey, write your name on the paper and you can keep drawing. Or, hey, write your name in the first sentence and then you can keep drawing. And you'll see this now.
Okay, look. Can you write one more up? Look. Can you write one more up? Look right there. Ooh, what does that mean?
Can I have one more minute?
Oh, I like how you said one more minute. Yeah, you can have one more minute. And you're even doing your work, so you can have maybe 2 more. Okay, can you write the word the? Ooh, I like how you stopped and you are going to write the word the. Nice. Ooh, can you fit in hill too? And I'll even give you 20 seconds to draw. Go, 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 go. Yeah. Nice job. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, gray, black, brown, pink. That's the color of a heart.
And mom!
Why?
Because
Oh no. Look, can you trace it too? Nice job. And do you think you could do this one too?
Oh my gosh, I'm going to give you a star for beautiful writing.
What does the timer mean? It went off.
Wow.
Wow! Oh my gosh! Look, you did a whole line. That's amazing.
baby.
Yeah.
Look at that pink heart.
Oh.
No, a rainbow.
That's the color of the rainbow heart with brown, pink, gray, tan.
Okay, so another important thing to remember is don't make a request you can't follow through with. Children learn quickly if you are a person of your word and if you'll follow through with what you are requesting for them to do. It is important you follow through with requests you make as often as possible so your child knows you'll always follow through, so there's no sense in putting up a fight. Don't make a request you can't follow through with. That just is, it teaches the kid that, they never ever have to listen to what you say. So just make sure, think about it. Hey, in this moment, I have the resources, the strength, the ability, the time to follow through with this request. If not, then, come up with a different way of saying it that it's not going to make you feel like you're out of control if your child doesn't follow through. Choose to implement sound behavior strategies for your student, but also for yourself. And again, I'm talking about students, children. Repeating the same thing over and over again makes me feel crazy. No, don't stop, quit. No, I'm going to take away, go to your stop or else. All these things make me feel out of control as a parent or as an educator. So I choose to implement these behavior strategies, not just for me, but because I might go crazy if if I'm not dealing with it proactively. Okay, so oftentimes I'll walk into a classroom and I'll hear a lot of, or I'll be around in public and I hear parents or teachers or IAs saying a lot of no, don't do that, no, don't do that, no, unexpected, no thank you. And, the student just keeps doing it and the staff start to get elevated or the parents start to get elevated. No, I told you to do this, you need to do it. So one day I just wanted to see what would happen with my girls if I started saying to them no, don't, no, don't, no, don't. So here is what happened with that. Again, this is completely random. I just started yelling no or no thank you to my daughters,
Don't go
and
up
this
the
is what
stairs like
happened.
that. That's not okay. We don't do that. No, thank you. Lila, no, thank you. Lila, we don't do that. No, thank you. That's not okay. I don't like it when you go up the stairs that way.
No, Mama.
Lila, I don't like it when you go up the stairs that way. That's not okay. Lila, can you show me how you go up the stairs holding the rail? Dude, can you do... Ellie, can you show me how you do that? Oh my gosh, Ellie is... Wow. Oh my gosh, Lila. Good job holding the railings. I like how Ellie is holding the railing so nicely. That's how we go up the stairs nicely. Lila, do you think you could show Mama how you go up the stairs nicely? That's right. You could even go up backwards as long as you're holding on. That's perfect. Good job. Oh, I love watching you. Perfect. Good job, baby. That's being very careful. You're right. Good job. Lila, we don't bite that. It's not okay to bite that. We don't put that in our mouths. No, thank you. Lila, no, thank you. That's not okay. I'm mad. Lila, we don't do that. That's not okay. No, thank you. Lila, you're not going to get to go downstairs later. You're not going to get dinner. Lila, it's not okay to put that in your mouth. It's dangerous. Wow, that's really cool, baby. Lila, can you show me? Can you cut this? Can you cut this? Can you put it there? Good. That's right. Can you use the cookie cutter and cut it right here? Can you cut a cookie on here? Make this a yeah. Good job, baby. That's how we do it. That's right. What else can we do with this? Do you stick spoons in your mouth? Can you show me how you stick? That's right. We stick spoons in our mouth. That's what we do. We can stick spoons in our mouth. We can drink. We can put the cup in our mouth. You're right.
Okay, so just like in that video clip, the next video clip was a student who I walked in and the staff was saying, no, don't hit, no thank you, nice hands. And the student just kept hitting them. In fact, it was 500 or more times a day that he was actually hitting them. So instead of paying attention to the no hitting and telling him what not to do, I changed it to a high five. I ignored his hitting and reinforced the high five, and here he is working with me, and then my partner at the time, who was able to go in with him a few days later and check just to see how staff were doing, and he was very compliant.
High five. Look. Can you high five? Yay, that's high fiving. Can you high five? High five. Wow. Look, high five. Yay. Good job, buddy. Can you clap? Can you clap? Yay, that's clapping, buddy. Good job. I like that. That's nice hands. Can I have a high five? Yay! High five. Yay! Good job. That's okay. Can I have a high five? High five? Wow, good high five. Can I have good high five? High five. Oh, really hard if you want. Boom, boom, boom. Good job. High five. High five. Hey, like a high five. High five. Wow. Yes, high five. What? Good job picking it up.
Okay, so words to avoid during behaviors until complete trust is built. No, don't, I don't like, not okay, unexpected, no thank you. Here, when I'm saying complete trust, I'm meaning, it's like that rapport that you have with your child or your students. You could just tell them to do something, and 99% of the time, they're going to follow through because you've had enough repetition of that. So again, this takes a while to build up, but basically your child's going to learn, like, hey, no matter what request they make, I'm going to have to follow through. And 99.9% of the time they do it. So you start finding that you don't have to be as forceful or offer so much reinforcement. Like, they just know that they have to follow through because you've done it so many times. Words to use with positive outcome. You can say show me instead of blank. You can blank. I like how you blank. I like how other student or other child is blank. Can you blank? I see you want blank. Can you, or you can blank. Again, these things have more positive outcome and they feel better. So functions of behavior, east. So we have escape. Things that you can teach your child to say instead of just escaping with behavior is, I want to break. I want to do something different. I don't want to do that. Attention is also a function of behavior. So I need attention. Help me with something. I want time with you. Can we? Self-stimulatory behaviors, they can ask for a break, can we walk, can we hug, etc. Or tangible, can I have, I want, can I work for? All of these things are, if your children are engaging in behaviors, you can say like, hey, I know it looks like you want a break, just ask me for a break, so that they're learning to use the language behind it instead of the behavior. So teach your child a more appropriate way of getting what they want, and try to proactively do that before they do what they aren't supposed to be doing. For example, if your child normally tantrums when you tell them it's time to put their iPad away, teach them to ask, can I have one more minute, and honor that. Or if your child's tantruming because they need your attention, teach them to instead say, Mom, I need some attention, and then make sure to provide that or some time together. I created the quick pick communication just because, sometimes words and devices are just not fast enough. We literally need to be able to follow through with things that we request. So this way, my student can point to it, or I can even, just touch my student's or child's finger to these things, and basically it counts as a quick request, right? So here's all the different functions, the things that kids most likely want. Attention, talk to me, different work, I need help, break one more minute. And these serve as replacement behaviors. Here's another one. I want to talk to you, I need help, I need a break, I am ready to work. Your child can just put that on their little chart. Sometimes it's really hard for them to use the words. They just, aren't used to it, or it embarrasses them. So this way they can just move their little arrow and you can give them what they need. So goals of this is to teach the child or the student to notice that they are impulsively wanting to do what they are doing, and then getting exactly what they want a little bit more appropriately. I have the directions here, but basically similar to the iPad video where you saw me say, hey, just put it down and then you can pick it back up. Same sort of idea here. We're creating a situation in which the student can ask or display a behavior that we want to see, and then we're reinforcing it. So sitting or standing in a controlled area until your child wants something that they have in sight. Stand between them and what they want, and then when they attempt to get it, have them point to the word or picture, and then say it out loud. I want to get some water, or I want to go to the bathroom, or I want to take a break, and then follow up with like, okay, you can go take a break, or okay, go get the water, or go get the toy, and immediately move out of the way. In the beginning stages, this should be prompted if necessary, and then be honored 100% of the time. They point to the item or picture, or state the item or picture, and then they get what they want. It should look like this. Student eyes the water fountain. Staff prompts the student to point to the water fountain picture and say, I want water fountain. And then they say, okay, go to the fountain. Thanks for telling me. And again, now you're reinforcing the child for using communication instead of just letting the child escape and run off to the water fountain. When the student is asking unprompted 100% of the time, delay the activity. Thanks for telling me, but you need to wait 1 second or 5 seconds. First, you need to do, cleaning up your socks, and then you can go. It can be as simple as clap hands or touch head in the beginning, like, hey, I know you want the iPad, but touch your head, and then you can have the iPad. Or I know you want to, take a break, but touch your head, touch your nose, write your name. Okay, now you can go take a break. And again, you're just getting simple compliance before they leave. This is just to teach them impulse control, and that they'll get what they want if they communicate and follow directions. As a student knows that they can ask for something and will honor it, we'll see more and more work. Continue to decrease the amount of work or amount of work time as you feel they can wait longer and longer. So boundaries also relate to how much we enable our students or children. Do you just accept unclear answers? Will another person understand what your child's actually trying to say or do? Can they do it without you? Can you teach them in the moment how to communicate better in the future? Every single time our child does something, it's an opportunity for us to make it a little better if we choose so. If a person can communicate by words, pictures, gestures, there's no need to give in to whining, crying, hitting, or screaming ever. Examples, I can't hear you while you're crying. If you just use the words, I can help you get what you want. Or I hear you want your snack. I want to give it to you, but you need to use your words. Or I think you want the ball, but I can't understand why you're screaming. If you use your words, or just say ball calmly, I'll get you what you want. Or maybe for one of our lower functioning students with, who isn't so verbal, she or he is screaming and reaching for the toy. The adult grabs the picture of the toy and has the child point to it, and then the adult gives the toy to the child. And again, you're rewarding the fact that they're requesting to do these things, not that they're using the behavior to get what they want. So we also need to help our children tolerate when we say no. Replacement behaviors and natural world consequences should be taught proactively. We all need to learn the word no. Children need to learn what to do when a peer grabs something from them, or when a peer, when something's not available because a peer has it. We need to learn changes in routine. So one way I taught the okay and not okay with one of my students I worked with. He would go around to all the different bathrooms and he would squeeze out the shampoo bottles and conditioner bottles. So the parent asked me to deal with this, and so we created okay bottles and not okay bottles, and here's me teaching that. It's kind of the way you fell asleep.
With who? You're running the chasing game with me. Look, Zach, this is okay to squeeze out. This is not okay. 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 This is okay. Zach, show me which one is okay to squeeze out. Good. That's okay to squeeze out. Show me the ones that are not okay to squeeze out. Not okay, not okay, not okay, not okay, and not okay. Good. Which one is okay? Good job, buddy. Alright, you can do chasing game. Ready? Come here, Zach, look. Zach, show me which one is okay to squeeze out. Which one's okay? Are you tired from chasing games? Which one? Okay, show me. Cool, Zach.
Okay, so there's a little story about how I came up with this, but basically I was a teacher, and I had my friend who was an artist come and just make the walls in my classroom beautiful, and like everything was beautiful, and she professionally did everything, and I loved my classroom. And so for 4 years my classroom was beautiful, and it remained like spotless on the walls with all this art. And so I had a student who came along, and he found that if he ripped the walls off, ripped the art off the walls, I would get like very upset. And so anytime he wanted attention, or he didn't want to do something, he'd walk over to the walls and he'd start ripping them. And so I kind of felt like I was going to go nuts. I couldn't forcefully or physically stop him from doing it, and it really got him a lot of power. So one day I went over to the wall and I just ripped the paper off the wall. And I told him, I was like, do it more. And he just looked at me and he stopped. And it was the first time I could ever get him to stop. So I recognize that I have my limitations. I am not, ever going to physically get into it with a student, unless there's certain boundaries around that. So I came up with a control procedure. And that's for my peace of mind, as well as, kind of making the student not get all the reinforcement that they want through you getting upset. So this has to be done in a very calm and cool way, but I've seen that it really helps people keep their composure. So basically it's called the control procedure, and you're offering choice. So it's do whatever they're currently doing, or do a part of the assignment you want them to do, and they'll earn reinforcement. It's much like our 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing at the beginning. That's annoying, except we're not doing that as much. You can go back to that if you'd like to, but this is just basically like you don't want to deal with it, and you also don't want them to gain a lot of control out of their behavior. So you'd say, hey, do you want to keep yelling and screaming on the ground, or would you like to do a tiny bit of the assignment and then you can earn your ice cream? And then again, if they don't answer, you just say, all right, looks like you just want to keep screaming and yelling. I'll check back with you in 3 minutes. And then you come back in 3 minutes and you repeat again. Hey, do you want to keep screaming and yelling on the floor, or would you like to do a part of your assignment? And you can earn your, ice cream later or your iPad later. Oh, looks like you want to keep screaming and yelling. I'll come check back with you in 5 minutes. And again, this way you can't stop them from screaming and yelling, but at that moment, you kind of leave with a little bit of compliance, because it's kind of like a trick compliance. So here's a little bit of, just the reading information on this. Just it's exactly what I just went over. So once you have this flow and the student understands, the power struggle will seem to go away. Once this happens, it is time to up the ante. So it might take hours, days, or even weeks, but it's well worth the wait. It might look like, hey, I know you want to, keep blah, 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 but if you want to keep doing that, first you need to, touch the table, get up, put your name on that, or put your pencil down, and then you can, continue doing that. If the student doesn't comply, you are still at step 1, or you need to make the demand easier. If the student does comply, then you make the command or task a little bit harder and harder each time. Again, going back to that iPad video, it's very similar to that.
It's time for math. Let's do our math. All right, let's do some math.
But I was going to pick them up at one of them up at 9, and then she's going to bring them up at 3:30.
All right, you have to do math. Let's go. We're doing math now. No.
God.
Do you want to keep reading the book, or do you want to do some math and you can earn some computer time later? All right, it looks like you want to read your book. Thank you for answering. Do you want to keep reading your book, or do you want to do a little bit of math and you can earn some computer time later? Book. All right, thank you for answering. Do you want to keep reading your book, or do you want to do some math and then you can earn some computer time later?
Keep reading.
All right, looks like you want to keep reading. Thank you for answering. Do you want to keep reading your book, or do you want to do some math and you can earn some iPad time later?
Book.
All right, thank you for answering. Looks like you want to read. Do you want to keep reading your book, or do you want to put your name on your paper and then you can earn some iPad time later? Wow, looks like you want to put your name on your paper and earn some iPad time. You'd earn a minute. Thank you for answering. Do you want to keep reading your book, or do you want to do 2 problems and you can earn another minute of iPad time for later? Well, it looks like you want to earn some iPad time.
3 plus 1.
4. Great job. Do you want to keep reading your book, or do you want to do 3 more problems and then you can earn, how about 3 minutes of iPad time later?
iPad.
Wow, I really like the way you're working. That's awesome. Let me know if you need help. Oh, that's awesome. Great. All right, last time. Do you want to keep reading your book, or do you want to just finish this row and then you'll have 5 minutes later? 5? Yeah. Wow, I really like how you're working. Let me know if you need help. All right, I'll get your iPad.
Thank you.
Okay, so one question to ask yourself is, are your expectations realistic? So if you want, your child to be, have zero maladaptive or bad behavior, or undesirable behavior, and then right now they're, tantruming and whining, it's not like tomorrow they're going to be, at their goal behavior. You have to have realistic expectations. So anything that's better every day is headed in the right direction. And as long as you can see that the behavior is getting better and better, you know that you're improving and that your child's going to get to where you want them to get. Not doing anything is oftentimes better than doing something that you might regret. Sometimes we all need to take a breath. If we're angry, upset, or emotional, we may not. We may just want to wait a moment until we're gathered and we can respond well. Think about what your child's doing, what they want from it, and how you should respond. Once you make a stance, you'll need to be able to follow through with it. This is important while building trust with your child. If I'm irritated by something or emotional about it, I always take a minute to gather myself. Yelling at my kids is unproductive for me and usually unproductive for them. Plus, it makes me feel horrible, and I'm really just wanting to focus on my goal of, teaching them to be, better citizens in this world. Remember, body language is communication. If you sigh, look irritated, or make a move that your child can read, they know they're getting to you. So really try to be as neutral as possible. One thing we always have to remember is to teach meaningful and exciting things and to get your student or child to be independent at those things. If you learn the same thing every day, you'd be bored too and be showing behaviors as well. If people thought you could do less than you could actually do, you'd also lose hope and you might not try as much. And then if people prompted you for everything, you'd also learn helplessness and you'd give up. And we definitely don't want our students who are very capable of many things to learn helplessness. The world only cares about and pays off on what you can do with what you know, and it doesn't care how you learned it, by Thomas Friedman. I love that quote. So it's better we get our students to learn less things more independently than more things less independently.